Hey guys, it's the next evening. I've only been able to work outside in the evenings because in the mornings I've had some things I had to get done inside, office related. And then it's been in the mid 90s, so I have not wanted to be out here in the middle of the day. So the subject of this video was going to be pruning climbing roses, summer pruning climbing roses, the main subject. And then I came out here and saw that the path that would be in the view of the background of the video is going to be all weedy. And so I got the weed eater out and I started dealing with those. And then I saw this area here and I was like, okay, that's bad too. And then I'm looking around like the whole thing just needs to be taken care of. So I worked on all that. I was pulling weeds and taking out dead plants until dark. I've still got it kind of all here torn out. I always have good intentions and start filling these collapsible trash can thingies. The plan being to fill those up, dump them, well, depending on what it is, in the yard waste or in the compost. I do that for a minute and then I'm like, it's just too difficult to aim it and they're all sticking out. So I just start throwing them on the ground and then I'll just pick them up twice. So I'm not gonna make you watch me do the rest of this whole garden, but I will show you before and afters. But I think what we want to do is kind of talk about pruning climbing roses in the summer. And the only reason you prune climbing roses in the summer is to bring on more bloom or just to keep them, if they've gotten out of hand, to kind of get them back in order. We do most of our pruning for shape and stuff like that in the winter. So in the winter, I'll be doing it again. But as you can see, usually there's a pillar here, a pillar here, and a pillar over there, and it kind of goes onto the roof a little bit. And then it comes along the top rung here. The variety of this one is called Perfume Breeze, and if you could smell it, you would know why. It smells so good. There's very few blooms left on it right now, and like very few buds as well. So this is a good time to get in there and clean it up a little bit. This one here on the arbor is called Teasing Georgia. It's a David Austin rose, and you can't really even walk through the arbor without getting poked. So we're gonna clean that one up too. Hey Nacho. Hey buddy. Say hi. Over here on the other side of the cottage, climbing over the gable over the front door. This is Wallerton Old Hall. It's got beautiful white, like creamy white, pink-ish roses. There's basically just one bud at the end of each of these canes. Most of them have been bloomed out and they're just the hips. So we'll clean this one up too. So I'll do all of these and I'll walk you through it. Then I'll finish cleaning this up and I'll be able to give you the before and the after. But I want this whole cottage garden just as clean as I can get it right now for going into fall and having more stuff to plant. The sun is almost behind the mountain now, so it's going to make it the perfect temperature for working out here. The sun sets about an hour and a half over the mountains before it's like actual sunset time. So I get an extra hour and a half of cooler weather. So the only thing I really need for this project are Felcos or any type of strong pruner. And then I have a rose glove. I have two rose gloves. I only wear one on my left hand because I can't, if I wear it on my right, I can't feel what I'm doing. Does that make sense? So we're gonna start with this one first because it needs the most done, but it's also the easiest. It seems like you can do whatever you want to this rose and it doesn't care. It just comes back even better. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take out these long whippy canes that I've already got plenty in here for the main structure, so I don't need these right now. It's a fairly new rose. I think it's only been here 2 years. I don't need to replace any old canes with new canes at this point. And I'm cutting them off you know, fairly far back in, almost close to where they grow out of. And I know I'm going to get a question of what these gloves are, so I will put a link down in the video description. I'm also cutting off all of the dead places where the flowers were. So up here at the top, the fullness only goes to about here, and I need to get it higher. So I'm going to take a couple of the strongest ones of these canes and tie them up to the top. The rest are going to go. Chickens are all waiting around for the falling branches, or they love the flowers, the blossoms, even dead. As annoying as it is to cut off everywhere the flowers were, there's so many, I have to just remind myself that a lot of rose blooms out here. All right, it's looking better. So tomorrow I'm going to take the branches that I've left, the long branches, and tie them into the top. Get this one up here. That looks good. Now let's hit the other one. I'm not going to be as brutal with this one. This one has the main framework kind of good to go. And there are a lot of these long branches coming out of here that I will cut down to probably right here in the winter. But right now, I'm just gonna cut off maybe a foot or so from each of these and get another bloom flush before winter. All right, last part of this is a lot of these canes start growing up here under the roof, and they get weak and mildewy in here, and they just start to affect the whole plant negatively. All right, it's been several days ongoing saga of cleaning the cottage garden. It's looking good. There's a few more things that I want to do. I was going to call it quits, but it's been a few days since I've filmed anything or done any work out here. Other things came up like Daisy and Clover leaving, and so those videos preempted this one. So it's weird. The sprinklers are going here on the grass, and I feel raindrops. We never get rain in summer, like from May to the end of October, starting November. That's a rain-free period typically. And when I say rain, it's a few drops. I doubt it's going to be anything significant. That's why I haven't turned off the sprinklers. Summer rain here equates to, is that a drop I just felt? So we got a few drops. So maybe what I'll do is I'll give you a before and after view now, and then show you some things that I've seen that I want to get in and kind of fine tune a little bit more. I have to say, especially with the rain, cutting back all these plants and ripping things out, it kind of got me in that fall mood. Like it hasn't been fall, it's been in the 90s, and fall technically doesn't start for another almost month. But especially today with overcast and a little bit of drizzle, I'm feeling fall. All right, so let me put up a before picture or video, I'm not sure which. So on the right side of the cottage, this is the after. And then on the left side of the cottage, after. I think I mentioned it in another video, but there's 11 pumpkins on this one volunteer pumpkin vine. So this right here is a yellow marguerite daisy. It's one of the only things, let's see, in the cottage garden, it is the only thing that is still remaining from when we moved in. It hasn't been moved. It's been cut back several times. As those age, they start to get more floppy and less flowers, and just kind of worth taking out. And I've kept it here because I kind of like the height, but honestly, I kind of like the openness and kind of looking right up in there. So maybe replace that with some lower plantings, so shorter plantings. In fact, that's kind of what I wanted to talk with you about. You know, in the before pictures you saw, I mean, the plants in the front of this were up above that bird bath and getting into the lower parts of the tree. Now both these redbud trees, they're going to be limbed up. I leave them like this. I don't prune them until after the spring because every branch you prune off is going to be covered in flowers. And so I'm going to let it flower and then cut it back. Whether that's the right way to do it or not, I don't care. I want to enjoy the flowers, but they will both be limbed up, and they will continue to be limbed up as they grow, because I want to stand here and actually see the cottage with the limbs, you know, kind of hanging over and up here rather than blocking off the whole thing there. You can see by these cosmos here, that's just as tall as anything that would be in the bed behind it, and therefore would cover it up. And while I wanted to maintain a certain wildness factor to the look of the cottage garden, I think I need to tone that down and rein it in a little bit. And so the plan is, in this front bed, all the way down, all the way around, I'm going to replace anything that is more than knee height with things that are shorter than that, and move those into the background. Possibly with the exception of the roses. I have a rose here and I have a rose by the bird bath. Those are a lot of trouble being in gopher baskets to actually dig up. So they'll stay, and it's okay to have a little bit of height up front. I just don't want a ton of it. It's actually starting to rain harder now. What the heck? I'm gonna go in for a minute, and I mean, it's not raining hard enough to turn off the sprinklers, but I'm gonna let the sprinklers run through their course, and then I'll come back out. Maybe it'll be done raining by then. All right, I just went in and had lunch, and now the sprinklers have stopped. The rain is still a little bit here. So I am gonna go ahead and remove the cosmos because it's pretty bloomed out. It was kind of buried in here, so it was not deadheaded. All right, so this echinacea here was hidden by the cosmos, and I'm just gonna cut it back. I'm not ripping it out because it's a perennial. But you can already see there's another bud coming up here, and that's gonna put out, and there is enough time left this year for this to rebloom, I think. If not, it'll be ready for next year. Looks like I missed getting rid of some cut salvias. All right, that looks a lot cleaner. So I will eventually have to cut back this Thai basil, but right now it's looking nice. It's giving the bees a lot of nectar. This is the one over in the vegetable garden, and it splayed out, and then it just started filling in with new growth in the middle. So technically you probably wouldn't have to cut it back so soon if you can live with the splayed out part for a couple of weeks. But this one's already too big for the space, and once it splays out and then fills in the center, it's going to be even bigger. So one thing that I have to do still up here that won't be done in this video because it's weed eating, and I bought new weed eater line and it was not strong enough to take care of some of the heavy duty stuff in here. So this all needs to be really just kind of weeded back further. All this in here, all this stuff, and all in front of the cottage there. This area here with the path and then along in front of the cottage, I've been trying to figure out what I should do with it. I really wanted gravel to match this. However, I don't want to really spend the money on more gravel right now and the delivery of it, especially trying to get the exact same color to match that. One of the other choices would to be using grass, seeing that I've got the lawn here and it would just continue along the front of this cottage. But the space in front of the cottage gets a lot of foot traffic, and trying to figure out grass and seeding it and irrigating it and mowing it with all these weird little angles and turns ins and out and little ins and outs. I don't think I want that either. Earlier this year, or was it late last year, we had some eucalyptus trees cut down, and they actually left us the mulch after they shredded it. So we've got a bunch of that piled up over here, and I was thinking of using that, and that would definitely go with, you know, all of the tree trunks and things, the logs that hold up all the beds. It would definitely give that more rustic look. So I'm thinking that's the way I'm going to go for now because I've got it. I will probably put down weed cloth. I will definitely put down weed cloth first because this whole area up here is weedy. It's been weedy since we moved in. So weed cloth will definitely help with that. I only use weed cloth because I know I get comments, more on Next Level Gardening probably, but I always get comments about weed cloth and, you know, how bad it is to use that. And I don't like using weed cloth, and I won't use weed cloth in flower beds because you're not allowing the exchange of nutrients from things that fall on top or that you place on top, like mulch, into the actual soil where these flowers are trying to grow and survive. But in paths, that's not an issue. And so I have no problem using it in paths. I have no problem whatever you do. If you want to put it in your flower bed, just know you're going to have less robust plants. But if your weeds are that bad, then sometimes that's necessary. But I don't use it in flower beds either because I want to be able to plant things in there, and I don't want to have to cut holes in the weed cloth and all that. But I will tell you, if you want the best weed cloth that I have found, it's at Costco. Usually in the spring, I don't think they have it all year, but it's gray and it's in a big old roll. So take that for what it's worth. You might have noticed that I left some of the dahlias and didn't cut them down, even though they're not looking great and they're probably only going to have a couple of weeks left, but they still were producing, and so I just wanted to let them keep going. Dahlias here tend to suffer later in the season with the heat, especially when you can't get into deadhead them. Deadheading is everything for dahlias, and if you can do that, they're going to last longer. But with the heat, they tend to start getting diseased down below. I've never had a year where they didn't. So if you live in Southern California and have dahlias all the way till October, November, and they look great, let me know, because I'm doing something wrong then. But they also have a longer bloom period because ours start blooming way earlier than most places. A lot of places, dahlias don't start blooming into midsummer, late summer, where ours are blooming in late spring to early summer, depending on when they're planted, or these were just left in the ground. We don't have to dig them here. Oh, one more thing that I did was I pruned the apple trees on the fence. So they look much more groomed than they did before. So I've got the main branch trained along the fence, and then the branches that grow out of that, I just keep them cut to finger length, and that will create fruiting spurs, and they will fruit on those spurs. And on this one tree, from here to here, I can get a lot of apples. In fact, we probably got 50 or 60 apples this year just off that one tree. And keep in mind, it's only in its second year here. But when you espalier fruit trees and you take their branches and train them horizontally, it actually speeds up the process of them starting to bear fruit. I've got these two espaliered apple trees here on this wall. So basically, just for demonstration purposes, you can see the new growth on these. And I'm just gonna take them and cut them, like I said, about finger length from the main branch down here, or wherever they happen to be growing off of. If I missed them and they've forked up here, I don't care that it's super perfect. So here you can see this one is growing off of one I had previously pruned. So finger length, off it comes. I don't know if I'm actually going to keep these here. They produced quite a bit this year. However, this is a south-facing wall, and we have a lot of heat just as these apples are kind of getting a good size on them. And even keeping them well watered, they start to get sunburn, and they do fine if they were, you know, a regular fruit tree, because you'd have the canopy of the leaves of the tree to shade them. But espaliers don't have that luxury. They're kind of out there for you to see. Therefore, some afternoon shade would be helpful, and they don't have that here. So anyway, this was a project that I should have done a couple of months ago, but life got in the way. I didn't do it, and it's done now, which I'm happy about. If I'd have done it earlier, I would have definitely had more rebloom than I will now. Right now, some will, some won't, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm looking forward to fall. I'll see you guys next time.